If you want a proven guide for how to communicate in a way where you both get your deepest needs met, then check out this book, Cracking the Man Code. Did you know that people who have an anxious attachment style tend to use the same kind of language when they're in relationships? And that you can actually spot this language ahead of time and notice it and use it to help protect yourself in a relationship by not becoming attached to someone who has anxious attachment style. The same thing goes for someone who has a healthy, secure attachment style. They tend to use similar language when it comes to relationships and when it comes to conversation. And here's why. The words we use when we're talking are a reflection of our level of awareness. It's like holding up a mirror saying, what level of awareness is this person operating from? Are they operating from a level of empowerment, or are they operating from disempowerment? Are they operating from responsibility, or are they operating from victim energy? The words people use are like x-ray vision to what level of consciousness are they living and moving and having their being in this world. And so today, we're going to unpack the most common things that people who have anxious attachment say so that you can spot it early and say, nope, I don't want that energy in my life. I am attracting something secure and healthy. And here's what's amazing. Your words and my words actually create our world. So it's not only a reflection of our level of awareness, but it's actually co-creating our very experience, which is why this becomes a feedback loop and people get stuck in the same experience and use the same kind of language over and over again. Your nervous system listens to your language and then responds to it. Words aren't just the descriptions of the things going on. You get to give those things meaning, and you can supercharge them. You can dial them up. You can catastrophize the situation, or you can mellow it out, and your nervous system is going to follow suit. So you could say something like, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. And then what happens to your nervous system? Like your whole body goes into fight or flight if that's how you're describing leaving the presentation at home. Or you could say something like, you left the presentation at home and you're like, yeah, that sucks. This is going to be a challenge. And then your nervous system moves into a whole different set of responding to the situation, helping you anchor on focus and resourcefulness so that you can solve that challenge instead of be a victim to that circumstance. My entire growing up, my mom was ruthless, correcting and calibrating the words that I would say to her as I was describing a problem that I was having or describing something going on in my life. If you didn't know, my mom is Mary Morrissey. She is one of the world's leading thought leaders in the realm of spirituality and personal development. And she knows that thoughts become things. She knows that the words that we're using reflect not only our consciousness, but then create the experience that we're having. So I'd be a kid and I'd go to my mom and say, Mom, I have this huge problem. And she would say, well, if the problem is huge, what does that make you? Small. I've got this big goal, this big dream. She was like, if it's a big dream, then you in proportion become small. Just call it an amazing dream or call it a significant problem. Or I'd say things like, I'm so scared. I'm not going to be able to solve this. I'm so scared. And she was like, you might be scared, but part of you is scared. And here's what's amazing. When you reframe huge problem to I'm facing a significant challenge, your nervous system registers it differently. You literally get access to different ideas when you're approaching a challenge versus a major, huge problem. The second thing that's fascinating is anytime she would help me refocus from I am scared. She was like, don't give your I am away to whatever experience you don't want. I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel scared. We're trained to do this. So many people speak that way. But actually, if you sequester it to part of me is scared. I don't want to exercise today. I don't want to eat healthy. To part of me doesn't want to exercise. Part of me doesn't want to eat healthy. What happens is you immediately give yourself access to the other part of you. I'm scared versus part of me is scared. Well, now I've got the access to the other part of me that's not scared. The other part of me that's brave. The other part of me that's got courage that can actually take a step even when I'm feeling the fear. And so my mom would just calibrate and was ruthless with us, helping us identify language that was empowering. So how does this help you spot someone who's avoidant or stuck in a victim mentality? And all we have to do is listen to their default language settings. Avoidant people, or people who are victim patterns, they use very specific language patterns. It sounds different from someone who is secure or someone who's coming from an empowered position. So right now we're going to unpack this, and I'm going to give you specific lines and categories of things to listen for so that you can identify someone who is avoidant versus someone who is healthy, so that you can avoid the avoidance and call in that healthy relationship that you want, or repattern a relationship that might slip into avoidant behavior patterns as well. So the first category that you really want to watch out for avoidance is nitpicking or finding a flaw in you. In fact, the pickup artist community figured out that they could manipulate people who had lower self-esteem by pointing out a micro flaw. They would call it a neg, like a negative. Then they would neg you. They say, you've got a really beautiful smile with those bunny teeth. And what would happen is people would then seek to gain that person's approval because they felt like they had lost it. And it was a total manipulation tactic. And so nitpicking or finding a flaw is someone trying to gain control over you, which is what avoidants do. Avoidants want to make sure that they won't be left because deep down they're insecure. And so they try to gain control. They might say things like, your laugh is a lot. Or, do you always have to be this emotional? Like, they will make you wrong. Or, you're kind of intense for me. Or something like, could you not wear so much makeup next time? Or they'll say things like, people they used to date, like, I usually go for girls that are a bit more low-key than you. They will try to make you feel inferior or flawed or like you're not enough to try to control you. On the other hand, a healthy, secure partner is not going to try to change you. They're going to compliment you. They're going to celebrate you. Ultimately, you will feel good about yourself in their presence. It doesn't mean that while you're dating, you might find opportunities for you to get along better or for you to connect even more with behaviors and things like that. But overall, you are going to feel so good about yourself and who you are as you are in a healthy person's presence. The next category that avoidance often used to try to gain control is idealizing or comparing you to their ex or their past. They'll say things like, my ex and I never fought. Like, things just seemed effortless. Or saying something like, we had insane chemistry. I never felt that with anyone else before. Something like that. Like, these make me laugh because they're just so ludicrous. And I'm sure you've heard some things like this, right? From people who are trying to manipulate us. Or maybe you just want to communicate and go deeper, and they'll say something like, my ex just got me without needing all these talks. Or honestly, my ex didn't need all the reassurance like this. Right? Making you feel less than a partner they had in the past. Healthy, secure relationships, number one, are not going to bring up the past. They're not even talking about the past. And they show a respect for your past. They're also not digging and trying to find out how they measure up against an ex. And they're interested in building something that is uniquely yours and this person's alone for the two of you. The next category, and this is a big one, you probably run into this a lot, which is dodging commitment, not talking about their feelings or not wanting to define the relationship. So the words that reflect that kind of energy and mentality is, I'm not big on labels. Why complicate a good thing? Can we not make this a big deal right now? I'm just bad at texting. Oh, here's a good one. You want to text more, and they'll make an excuse for themselves like, oh, I'm just bad at texting. It's like, don't read into it. Where it's actually a way you want to communicate with them, and they're just blowing it off. Or they'll say something like, let's just enjoy the moment. Let's not overanalyze it. Let's just be here now. All of that stuff is avoidant energy of not having the capacity to communicate about what they want, where they are, how they feel, which is ultimately what you're looking for. The healthy, secure relationship has no problem communicating their feelings. They talk about their wants openly. They make space for discussing the vision, the direction, whether we're aligned or not. And so that doesn't scare them off. They're not like, oh, I can't talk about this. And so you want to pay attention to, does this person have the capacity to have those conversations? Or are they hitting you with avoidant language patterns? And very similar to not wanting to talk about feelings is just another category of this. It's called surface level or deflection with humor is they never let anything go deep. And so the moment you want to talk about something deep, they'll go sideways with it, like, whoa, talk therapy, lighten up, like, let's not get so serious on each other. Or they'll say that you're overthinking and that it's not that deep or not that big of a deal. Can't we just keep it fun? They just want to keep it light. Or they blame you for trying to psychoanalyze them, where all you're really wanting is just to know where they're at and what they want. Do not let that throw you, because as I said, the secure individual can empathize with how you're feeling, empathize with you wanting to have a direction, wanting to feel secure. And they can empathize with that, and they themselves can tap into what they want, and they're not scared to have that conversation. It's not like we're either locked into secure attachment or we're locked into anxious attachment or avoidant attachment. We can bounce around depending on whether or not we get insecure. And so it's how can we anchor more insecure attachment more of the time and then help our partner do the same. So when I had dated my wife for about a year and we lived long distance, we were making plans to spend more time together. And the plan was one of us was going to move. And so at first she said that she'll move up to Oregon, which is where I was living. And I knew she was still going to school at the time. So I thought, you know what? I can move my business. I can work from wherever. So I have family down in Southern California. Let me move to you. Months go by, and now we're a few weeks away from me moving. We've got her plane ticket. She's going to come up, help me pack up my place. We're going to take a road trip down south to Southern California. And I'm on the phone with her. And she says this, she was like, well, I just want you to know that when you move down here, don't think that we're going to see each other like all the time every day. I'm like, it's such a weird off thing for her to say, but I went, okay, don't worry. Like, I've got my business and I'm working. I do, want to see you more than I'm seeing you now, but we don't have to see each other every day. And she was like, and I just want you to know, like I might not be available as much as you think I'm going to be available. And in that moment, I clued into, okay, here's her pushing me away. So instead of getting defensive, instead of getting scared, I don't know what it was in that moment that allowed me to ground, but I felt so grateful for the training I'd had to not fight her on the surface level things, but to go deeper. And I said, I'm noticing you saying that you're not going to see me as much. I'm noticing that you're saying that you don't want to see me all the time. And the whole point of moving down there is to spend more time than we're spending now. Is there a deeper fear that's going on right now I'm sensing you might be pushing me away a little bit? And there was a silence on the phone. And she said, you know what? There is. And when I get in touch with myself, I'm afraid that when you move down here, you're going to propose right away. And I'm not ready to get married. I like you. You're moving down so we can explore how things are going, but I don't want to get married right away. And I laughed and I said, babe, I don't want to get married right away. I'm so glad you're bringing this up. The whole idea is that's just to get to know each other. So know this, I will not propose right away. When I move down there, we'll have plenty of time to experience what it's like to be together before I propose. And she said, great. And she was able to relax. She flew up. We had a great time on the drive down there. And then we got to experience what it was like to actually live in the same town. Now, that conversation could have gone very different. If her anxious energy had triggered my anxious energy and I got scared and I pulled back and I said, well, why am I moving down there in the first place? If you don't want to spend time with me, that's a perfect moment for things to explode. And so when you notice, if you are in a relationship and one of you, maybe your partner, gets into avoidant energy, ask what the deeper fear is. And then they can move back into their secure, emotionally intelligent way of being and describe what they're feeling. That's the kind of partner that's going to make a great long-term partner for you. Because remember, the words we use are a reflection of our level of awareness. And the words we use create our world because they impact our nervous system. So my question for you is, what are the words that you have heard avoidant people say that signal to you this is not going to be a good partner? Put that in the comment section below. I'm going to love to read those, and you're going to help everyone else who reads that comment section steer clear of people who aren't ready for a great committed relationship. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for watching. Here's to you and your amazing love life.